Today we're making chocolate financiers. These little French pastries are made with brown butter, ground almonds, and egg whites. They're lightly sweet, deeply chocolatey, and utterly delicious. Plus, they're a snap to make. So, let's get baking. We'll start by browning our butter. I've got 10 tablespoons of butter, that's 142 grams, it's a stick plus a little bit more, in a pot set over medium heat, and we will let that melt, and then it's going to foam. We don't want it to boil, that'd give us clarified butter, but we will let it foam and just kind of keep whisking it until we see little browned bits towards the bottom of the pot, and that's when we know we've got browned butter. And as soon as we see those browned bits, we'll turn the heat off and just set it aside while we get the other ingredients going. So we'll check back in when this is ready to come off the heat. Just a quick check-in on the butter. It's maybe 3 minutes in and foaming and sizzling and bubbling. So give it another 3 minutes or so, but watch it really carefully, and we'll see those brown bits that tell us we're about done. The sizzling has settled down, and underneath the bubbles, I can see that there is browning happening at the bottom of my pot. So that's the sign for me to give it a few more seconds and turn off the heat. And I'm going to set this aside, but I'm not taking it out of the pot. It will get a couple shades browner on its own just as it sits, so I don't want to go too far with it. Now it's time to get the rest of our ingredients together. In a large bowl, we'll combine a cup of powdered sugar that weighs out to 115 grams with some almond flour or almond meal or finely ground almond, whatever we call it. We're going to put 150 grams of that's 1.5 cups, into the bowl. So I have some blanched almond flour here. It doesn't matter if it's been blanched, that just means that the skins of the almonds were removed before grinding them. Or if it is not blanched, all right, which will look a little bit darker because it's got the almond skins intact. Either way will work, and since I'm finishing off the end of one bag of almond meal and digging into another one, I have some of each. Sometimes recipes specify it's not really even so much texture as a color thing, and since these are going to be very dark and chocolatey, neither of those will matter for us. All right, speaking of dark and chocolatey, we're going to add 1/2 cup of cocoa powder, that's 42 grams. It doesn't matter if you use Dutch or natural processed cocoa powder here. I prefer using Dutch though. Can't get a hold of my usual Hershey's Special Dark, sniff sniff, right now, so I have some other Dutch cocoa powder that'll work just fine. All right, to this we'll also add 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and we're going to stir that together just so that everything is reasonably well distributed. There we go. Get the scale out of the way, and we're going to add egg whites. This would be whites from 4 eggs, that works out to about 1/2 cup, or measuring by weight, 120 grams. And we are also going to add a little bit of vanilla extract. If you'd like to up the almond taste, you could always do almond extract or a little bit of each. I've got 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract to stir in as well. All right, we're just going to give that a stir. In fact, I might switch to the whisk that we used for the brown butter, and we're going to get that really thoroughly incorporated. Set the spoon aside for later. I'm going to get that thoroughly incorporated before we add in our brown butter. All right, no wisps of dry ingredients lurking on the bottom of this bowl, so We are good to add in our brown butter. And if you can see, that really did take on a nice kind of nutty brown color and flavor as well. So we're gonna stir that in. It's cool enough that it's not going to turn our egg whites into scrambled egg whites here. All right. Set the bowl aside and whisk carefully at first so that butter doesn't slosh out. And just whisk until the butter is thoroughly incorporated with the rest of the ingredients. Looks like all of the brown butter is mixed in. So we will get as much of that brown, buttery, chocolatey goodness off the whisk as we reasonably can. Set the whisk aside and spoon this mixture into mini muffin cups. You could use Financiers if you're wondering about the name. It's from the shape that these are traditionally made in. They're usually made in a little Financiers, or if you haven't guessed it, a French pastry, and they are normally made, get that guy back in there, or traditionally made in little rectangular molds that kind of call to mind bars of gold. And the original versions of these were not chocolate, so it often did have brown butter, but they wound up being these like golden brown bars of pastry. So Financier, thinking of bankers and gold and such. These are ready for the 375-degree oven now, and if you want, you can put an almond on the top of your Financiers. I'm going to do that with every other one just to be cute. It indicates what's in them as well, so if you are bringing these to a party or a potluck, it helps folks know that there are almonds in these, just in case. It's also just kind of cute. All right, so almond or not, they're going to go into the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. You'll see them set up and maybe just be firm to the touch. You don't want them to crack wide open at the top. So 8 minutes almost always does it for me. We'll see these when they're out of the oven. My Financiers are out of the oven. They are set to the touch, but still nice and soft. So now all we have to do is set them on the cooling rack and let them cool before we get to enjoy them. We hope you give these a try and you check back every Friday for a new recipe.